please like our video and subscribe to RotoWire. Then go to rotowire.com/pod for a free 10-day trial.
Hey everybody, welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast for Tuesday, March 2nd. Jeff Erickson here with Fred Zinkie. As always, we're brought to you by AutoNew. We thank them for their sponsorship. Fred, Aaron Hicks is going to be batting third. Aaron Boone said this today. One Aaron favoring another. Aaron Hicks, he's very cheap. $271 at ADP so far. Are you buying at that price?
Well, now that he's going to bat third for arguably the best lineup in baseball, one of the top 2 or 3 lineups in baseball, then I think he sounds like a pretty good deal at that price.
Maybe I should say the better question is, what price are you buying Aaron Hicks at then?
Yeah, so I'm fine with him at his ADP. I have a hunch that this news will shoot his ADP up. Like, how can people resist a guy who's going to bat third on the Yankees? Like, okay, so before I get into that, it's ridiculous that Aaron Hicks is going to bat third for the Yankees, right?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing though. You look at the Yankees lineup. How many left-handers do they have?
Yeah, not a lot.
I think they're like the Jays. I had Randy Wilkins on last week. We were talking about that.
Yeah.
He writes views from 314 feet, and they are a very right-handed lineup. Sanchez righty, Voit righty, LeMahieu righty, Urshela righty, Torres righty, Stanton righty, Judge righty, Frazier righty. Hicks is it. He's the list. He's the only left-hander that's projected to start, unless Gardner's in the lineup or Tauchman's in the lineup that day.
Absolutely. So it's funny that you mentioned the Blue Jays, because that's my stance on Kevin Biggio, is that he has to hit high in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
I think second, because he's the lefty bat. At the same time, like Kevin Biggio is really good at getting on base.
Right.
Like his career OBP is like in the 350s, 360s. Like he's actually well suited to hit second. Like just looking like for Hicks to hit third, like righty or lefty, like Giancarlo Stanton's career OPS is in the 900s. Aaron Judge's career OPS is in the 900s. Like Hicks is a 734.
Right.
Like they're in such a good lineup. Like Gleyber Torres, I know he struggled last season, but man, like he's 24. He has like such a bright future. Like and it won't matter. The Yankees are really good. Like they're gonna have a good lineup either way. It might not, like Gleyber Torres's career OPS is 100 points higher than Aaron Hicks. To me, it just like the player is like, I want Biggio high in the Jays lineup because it's at least comparable. Like he's a decent option there. Like Hicks as a hitter is not comparable to some of these guys, and they're gonna have games where Hicks is the last batter up, and Aaron Judge is standing in the on deck circle, and Gleyber Torres is holding his bat in the dugout, crossing his fingers. And to me, it's a terrible move. I was joking with a friend at first that maybe Boone's just already projecting Stanton and Judge to be on the IL. He's like, well, we don't have them anyways, so we'll need Hicks. But anyways, for fantasy, I think it's got to boost him up, and I think his ADP is going to push up now closer to 200.
Sounds like you're not going to be there for it if it is.
I will not be there if it pushes to 200 probably. Okay. There's a lot of outfielders I like with an ADP say from about 175 to 275. Like in that range, there's a lot of outfielders that I like. So Hicks is now one of them, because they're obviously hitting third for the Yankees. So even though I went on a little rant about what the Yankees should do, in my opinion, I don't, as a fantasy analyst, try to get into what teams should do, because it doesn't really matter what I think they should do. It's what they do.
What they're going to do. Yep.
That's right. So if Hicks hits third in that lineup, and you can get him at pick 240, and if he stays healthy, that's the big thing with Hicks, right? Like how many plate appearances, how many games can you project him for? Last year, pretty healthy, but beyond that, like a pretty sketchy injury track record throughout his career.
If he runs a little bit, like I've got him for 9 stolen bases. If he's hitting third, how often is he going to run in front of Judge?
That's right. Not often. So I would take that 9 and probably push it down to 6 or 7, say 6, something like that.
Yeah.
But I thought he hit low in the lineup. So when you move him up to third, you're going to move up the plate appearances, and you're going to move up the home runs. And then obviously the big boom is you're going to really pump up the RBIs and the runs scored.
Especially the runs scored, I think.
Oh, totally. So, I mean, if you're taking off 3-4 steals, but you're adding 2 or 3 home runs, and then you're adding the RBIs and the runs scored, like he's going to shoot up. I could see someone, if this news sticks, like I could see someone at main event time like reaching for him for sure before pick 200 and saying, hey, maybe I get lightning in a bottle here and I get the number 3 hitter in the one of the 2-3 best lineups in baseball, and I get that guy at pick 180 or something like that. That's if it works. Like if Hicks has a 27 homer season 2 years ago. Well, I guess 3 years ago now. In 2018, he's got that 27 homer season. So there is some power there, although it hasn't been consistent in his career at all. Even the year after that, he hit 12 in 59 games. Like that prorates out to another 27 or so homers if he had played all season.
Right. And so, you know, this could last 2 weeks too, for all we know. That's the possible downside. But Scott Jensen and I on the Sunday Night Podcast were talking about trying to find late round post 200 targets for runs scored. There's not very many. There's a reason why. I mean, let's face it. The guys that score a ton of runs are good hitters. They're good players. You know, it's hard to find guys like that. So, yeah, I would bump them up a little bit. I think I've got him around 215 right now. I think I added, but that's with the 231 average, albeit with 9 stolen bases. So that kind of counteracts each other. But I don't know. I think he's a guy I'd have to take a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, in 2018, that good season where he finally stayed healthy, 27 homers, and you're right, he scored 90 runs. And in that season, he hit third as much as any other. He hit third in 33 games. He hit leadoff in 31, and he hit sixth in 28. So kind of spread out between those 3 spots, which is kind of weird. But he hit third often in that season. So, and I mean, I'm getting carried away with third. The bottom line is, and you make a good point about the right-handedness of that lineup. If he's just in key spots, if he's third and then another game he's fourth, another game he's fifth, but if he's just always hanging out in the top 5 in that lineup because they want that left-handed bat up there against right-handed pitchers, then it's really the same thing. Like you say, the runs scored will be there and the RBIs will be there. Yeah,
that's right. Let's make this a Hicks cast. Jordan Hicks had and I want to get the proper phrasing here, puts in a monumental live batting practice today. Very impressive facing hitters for the first time this spring. Was the talk of the camp. It's even Andrew Miller's like, it's always eye-opening to watch him throw. Velocity was really good. It looked like he was getting a lot of swing and miss. There's a lot of talk about him being the lead candidate to close, though. The Cardinals were going to take it slowly with him. I'm certainly interested in Jordan Hicks. I got him in mixed labor. It's kind of funny. I did the beat Jeff Erickson draft, and he went earlier by round in a 12-team draft than I got Hicks in the 15-team mixed labor. I think some of that's the type of league that we're in, where you have an overall prize, so therefore you have to compete in saves. Whereas I think at labor, people are punting saves at the table or at least going late. ADP of him in the online championship, 34 contests, is 218. Range, though, of 136 to 264.
Actually, if you have that in front of you, can you name a couple relievers? I think in labor you stole him. Like, I regret not taking him a round or two before that. Do you have in front of you a couple relievers who are going around him? Because I think that's a great spot for him. I think he's going to get 25 saves and could get 35.
Yeah, he's kind of in a little pocket there where, there's not too many around him. Richard Rodriguez is 191. Will Smith, the Braves, is 195. Those are the two immediately before him.
I would take Hicks before both of them, I think. The Smith one's a good comparison. I think that's pretty good comparable.
Greg Holland's at 223.
Hicks for sure.
Hicks for sure for me too. I'm even though I'm wearing orange, I'm anti-Holland. Sorry, that was not sorry.
That's good.
His bullpen mate Giovanni Gallegos is 231. You can get both.
You got to go with Hicks at that point, I think.
Archie Bradley, 233.
I would take Hicks. I know you're really confident that Bradley will be the closer, and I don't think I think he's the favorite, but I think Hicks is a bigger favorite.
I'd agree, and in fact, Joe Girardi.
You're very anti-Hector Neris.
I am anti-Hector Neris. I have him in a Stratomatic league, and I'm just dreading having to use his card this year.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be ball 4, ball 8, ball 12. I can't stand watching relievers like that. Joe Girardi the other day said that he made a point of not naming anybody the closer. He wants to have some flexibility with roles. And the fact that Miller has said in the past that he doesn't matter to him which role he has, I want him to say, make me the closer. But, he's not doing that.
He's going to say all the right things. You know what I think the niche is for Hicks, and I think this is great. There's that closer run that tends to happen around rounds like 9 to 11 in like 15 team league drafts. So in that range right now, you've got like Rosenthal and Yates and Colomé. Craig Kimbrell's kind of crept in there.
Yeah, he keeps going higher.
You've got a lot of closers. Pardon me?
Kimbrell, this is going to say, keeps going higher and higher.
That's right. So you've got a lot of closers in that pick 150, like say from 130 to 165. You got a lot of closers in that range. So I know a lot of drafters will be like, oh, I want to get someone, and some of them might need to get two, depending on how the early rounds go in that range. Hicks is like he and maybe Archie Bradley are like your soft landing if you get shut out of that. Yep. So especially if you're on an end. So if you're on an end and you're really worried, and maybe it's your pick in round 10 and you're like, oh the gosh, there's 28 picks before I go again, and I might have to reach on a closer here that I don't really want. Like Hicks is your soft landing where you're like, okay, if nobody comes back to me, I'll just go for Hicks, or I'll go for Archie Bradley. I think those guys are maybe your soft landing, or they're your number twos if that guy who you took in round 10 is your number one.
Yeah. Question for you. If let's just say today that the Reds name Amir Garrett as their closer, period, end of story.
Yep.
Hicks or Garrett?
Hicks. Oh, Hicks. I'm not 100% confident that Garrett will keep the job.
Okay.
That's a really tough one. I think they'd be pretty close. I'll say Hicks. What about you?
I think I say Hicks too, but
yeah, it's tough because it's hard close. To take. Yeah, because the Cardinals could just throw us a curve and just all of a sudden Gallegos is a closer and they're like, Hicks is so awesome. He's going to throw 102 and pitch high leverage innings and we love the guy, but he's not closer. And
Matt Barnes goes 50 picks ahead or 40 picks ahead. I don't see it.
That. I don't get that one at all. There are people I know in this industry who I really respect who like Matt Barnes for this year. I don't see it. I don't see him as a good closer. I do understand that the Red Sox don't have a lot of alternatives, but I would be surprised. Hicks, I feel like, could be a 6-month closer. I'd be shocked if Barnes is the closer for even 4 months.
Yeah,
I'm not feeling Matt Barnes as the closer.
Todd Zola thinks it's going to be Ottavino, and Todd knows as well as anyone.
Yeah, I think it totally could be. Like in my projections, I might have them both projected for like a dozen saves, and then just the field for the other dozen. I don't think the Red Sox will generate 40 plus save chances this year. I might have them both for a dozen saves, which means I'm not getting Barnes and may not get Ottavino.
I've never come close to taking Barnes. I've always found I'm either not looking for a closer there, or I've gotten him my closer there, or he's just like, I have 4 other closers I like better when he's available.
Yeah, like you said, he goes before Hicks. Those are ranges where I feel like the hitters you can get in that area are still very good. So if I'm going to take a reliever in that area, I need to be really confident that he's the closer, and I'm just not there with Barnes. But I am there with Hicks right now.
Yeah. I will say there's going to be one of those closers that we view as quote-unquote crappy is going to be one of the saves leaders. It happens every year. Someone's going to find a bargain there. It could be Greg Holland. It could be Rich Rodriguez. Or it could be Hicks.
It could be Ottavino. I don't think the Red Sox will get that amount of save chances, but they could. So it could be Ottavino. He just has a nice season and saves 37 games or 35 games or something. But yeah, it's just that in the end, you can only draft 1 or 2 of them, and there are about a dozen of them. So you're really taking a chance.
Right.
Yeah.
Dave Roberts said Will Smith and Austin Barnes are 1 and 1A.
I kind of saw that coming, but
yeah. Well, Barnes catches every one of Kershaw's starts. First of all, that's 32 games. Okay, still plenty of time for Smith to play.
That's 20. That's 26 games or 25 games. I'd say.
It's 34. He's fine. He's gonna get extra starts. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
It hurts though. It hurts Will Smith, who is the clear number 2 at this point. No, that's not true. Sal Perez is a clear number 2 in a lot of cases. 2 or 3 is where I see Will Smith going, and I think he is personally my number 2. We talked about this a little bit earlier though. No DH available to Will Smith now, and it's looking decreasingly likely that we're going to have a DH in the National League this year. That hurts Will Smith a lot.
It does hurt him for sure. This one I'm going to get a little stubborn on.
Good.
Will Smith has a career 937 OPS. Like
Is that good?
Yeah, that's as good. Like he hits as well as any catcher. Austin Barnes' career OPS is 700, and that's a little misleading because it's been below 670 in each of the last 3 seasons. Like he had the one good year back in 2017 where he had almost a 900 OPS. Like there's like the OPS gap for between Will Smith and Austin Barnes should be at least 150 points, if not 200 points. I wonder if as the season goes along, like the 1 and 1A is a great thing to say at the beginning, but I wonder if Will Smith will put a little distance between the two. We'll just wait and see. If I look at Will Smith's career numbers, so he's had 284 at bats in his career. He'll easily hit that this year, even as the one with the 1A, and he has 23 homers, 67 RBIs. Like I would take that honestly from my catcher 2 or 3 with a respectable batting average, 268. Like I would take that. I feel like Will Smith is still my catcher. Like this news kind of pushes him into like a bit of more of a tie with Sal Perez.
Right.
But I feel like maybe there's more upside with Smith because I can get him into a tie with Sal Perez on the 1-1A scenario. If Will Smith starts to push his at bat total up towards 400, if he starts taking over where he's playing 4 of 6, at least 3 of 5 all the time, gets his 350, 400 at bats, then I think he could be really good. Assuming Will Smith is actually this good of a hitter that he's shown so far.
Yeah, I need it to be closer to like 4 of 5, 5 of 7. Yeah. Before I it's enough to give me pause to wait around at least on catchers. Maybe that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
I know you as the 2-catcher guy in LABR. I'm calling you Fred 2-catcher Zinkie.
Yeah,
no longer because that draft's done, so I can no longer call you defending champion Fred Zinkie. It's now
right.
2-catcher Fred Zinkie.
Right.
So
way less exciting.
Yes, it's a niche though. It's still good to have.
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
But
got everything.
Yeah, it does. It does. I think generally speaking, it raises a little concern with just. NL catchers generally, Real Muto, same way. Darno, the same way a little bit. I think you have to discount those guys a little bit also.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. They all like when I shifted my projections to no DH, which was probably around the 1st of February. I had to ding the NL catchers, the ones who I thought could have a heavy workload. I even dinged Real Muto a little bit. The thing with Real Muto is even after I dinged him, his at bat total was still really high because he's had years prior to 2020 with no DH where with the Marlins and the Phillies where his at bat totals were still really high. So he's shown he can do it. What would be nice for me maybe since I'm still being stubborn on Will Smith is he was kind of like a round 6 guy in a 15-teamer. If this news pushed him to be a round 7 guy, I'm okay with that. I'll still take him. I'll just take him around 7.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
TGFBI is going on. Tout Wars started this week, both draft and hold, and we just did the broadcast for the new 12-team mix with different scoring categories. Believe it or not, Fred, I am actually on the clock in TGFBI. We're going to make my 4th round pick here. And we can live cast this one here. It's exciting stuff.
Who are you considering? This is exciting. Who are you considering?
Yeah, well, I know. It's a big moment for everyone. Well, first of all, it's my roster so far. I'm picking the 2 spot out of 15. I went Acuna, Clayton Kershaw, Brandon Woodruff. So I'm definitely looking hitter here, and I can kind of take anything I want.
Yep.
Top 2 hitters I think are on the board are Vlad Jr. and Alex Bregman, though I think you can make a case for Luke Voit also, and even Michael Conforto if you squint a little bit there. Okay. I think I'm just not going to be too clever about it. I'm not even a Bregman guy. But at pick 59, I feel like I have to take him.
Great value. Yeah. When you said your options, I was like, I got to let Jeff make his own pick here. But in my mind, I was like, it's got to be Bregman. He's fallen. Like he's more in a 15-team, like an early 4th round. You're getting him at the end of the 4th round. He's also just thinking about you working the turn. Since he's the guy who fell the furthest, he's the least likely to make it around that turn back to you.
Right.
So,
and since there are 2 first basemen I like, in Vlad and Voit, you can take
one of them on
the remainder.
Yeah.
I could take Nelly Cruz and not get sniped on him again, but I could also wait on him. I'm going to wait on Cruz. So I am taking Bregman.
There you go.
Boy, that was exciting, wasn't it there?
We might, and depending on what the person on the turn does, we could get to another pick during this podcast.
This is heady times, man. This is great. Lock it in, Alex Bregman. Come on down. And I wasn't even like, I'm not thrilled. It's not like a target of mine, but my rank was like 48. And I got him at 59, so I'll take it.
Yeah, and this is the benefit of starting with someone like Acuna, like you said, where he really gives you the flexibility for your next couple hitter picks to take whomever. Like you've got 30 something steals, probably 30 at least, say, locked in with Acuna. So even if you do take Bregman and Vlad, sure, there's not many steals there, maybe 10 between them, maybe not even. But you have the 30 from Acuna. And what's interesting is coming out of the early rounds with steals is really important. But when you're taking corners in the early rounds, like, yeah, you still need some steals, but you still have all your middle infield spots and all your outfield spots except Acuna's available, which is where you'll find them.
Right. That's right.
There's nothing worse than being like halfway through your draft and saying, oh, I really need steals. Well, I still got a few spots. Where can I put them? Oh, wait, I still need a first, a third, and a corner.
Right.
I'm probably not going to find any steals there.
Not too often.
So at least if you need middle infielders, you can find some, and outfielders, you can find some.
There's one other path I could have taken, by the way. There's only been one reliever taken, and that's Hader. Hendricks is still available. I took my pick 64 in the 12-teamer. It's 12 versus 15 matters here a little bit, though. Yeah. If you take a closer early in a 15, you're really passing up a lot of value. And more, not only that, but you're also, it's a long way back. And, you're seeing a lot of targets go out the board. And if I don't take Hendricks at the 5.2 spot, I may just wait until the 8-9 turn before I take a closer.
Pretty much. Yeah. And then you could either double tap or you could maybe get one on the 8-9 and one on the 10-11.
Yeah.
How important the overall contest as opposed to in a league, like a regular league?
Well, I mean, here I'll be honest. There's no entry fee for TGFBI. Yeah. In the main event, a significant portion of your entry fee goes to the overall contest, so you need to play for that.
Yeah.
And here, you do, but it's fun glory to say you're be the TGFBI overall winner. Given that two people on RotoWire already have done that in Clay Link and Todd Zola, I have not. And James Anderson's like a top 10 all time in TGFBI. RotoWire is really well repped there, except for me. So I don't know. Maybe I should be thinking about that a little bit more. But it's a good question. It's a good consideration. I think in the NFBC contest, the overall has to be part of your calculus. It just has to be.
Yeah.
So much of your entry fee goes towards that.
Right. And does that overall make you more likely to take Liam Hendricks than you would have been, say, in our labor draft?
Yes. Yes, it does.
Right.
Without a doubt. Well, especially in a labor draft because we can trade too. And
that's true too. Yeah. Now I was going to ask you about your team when you sent me the screenshot of the draft so far. I thought this was interesting. So I noticed that you passed Ozzie Albies on the second and the third round. And I wondered if you had given any consideration because of the overall component to just doing a bit of a fantasy football type move and stacking. And just since Acuna will probably hit leadoff for the Braves and Albies there's a good chance could hit second. Would you try to just stack the two of them and hope that they just both are healthy all year, go bananas? You know what I mean? Really,
sure.
Rather than Kershaw or Woodruff. Hey, did the overall component, like, did you consider Albies, and would that be a factor to you in an overall? They're one of the few combos you can take in that early in a draft. Like, you can't get Soto and Trey Turner,
right,
or something like that unless it's an auction. I don't really see another natural pair when I look through the first couple rounds. Like, can't get Betts and Bellinger. They're a pair that, like, Albies usually sits around late second, early third. Like, would you ever want to try to pair them up?
Yes, I would.
Yeah.
And I think stacking is a beautiful idea, especially because of the overall contest, without a doubt. I think I did think about Albies at 3.2. I really did. I wanted to be able to have those two aces, and getting Woodruff as the second ace. I went with Kershaw, Woodruff, but had Woodruff gone at 3.1, I would have taken a hitter. Then the question was Bogarts or Albies, or Eloy Jimenez. There's another one.
Not LeMahieu, eh?
No way. I just something about me is like, I can't do it.
Okay.
I think that even though he's back in Yankee Stadium and that's where he needs to be to take advantage of that short porch, I feel a regression coming on with him still. And
Right. Sure.
I
That's
just
fair.
I wasn't going to be willing to pay that price on him. But yeah, I think I want to have Braves. And Ozuna's gone in this draft, but
You can't squeeze all three of them in. And
No.
you can double tap Freeman and Ozuna if you pick late in your draft. That actually works quite well.
And I did have Ozuna and d'Arnaud in the 12-teamer that I did last week. So you can still find and Dansby, actually. I had 3 Braves in that lineup. And that's the thing. There's like 6-7 guys in that lineup that are pretty intriguing, and it's a good ballpark to hit in. And obviously, when they score a lot of runs, you're going to be getting a part of that. So yeah, Dodgers are obvious, Yankees are obvious, White Sox, Blue Jays. Blue Jays are team fun. Everybody loves themselves some Blue Jays, whether it's Bo Bichette. I love Kevin Biggio. I love Vlad. I love Teoscar. I've had a couple of leagues where I've gotten him so far. I want, and when they do they do help each other out there. When their whole team is going well and you've got a couple of them, it's an advantage.
Yeah, I think like in a regular league, I don't have a lot of interest in this, and I've never been that guy in fantasy football who's trying to target like a QB wide receiver combo or anything. It's more in an overall, like when there's an overall component. It's the same as trying to win like a big contest, right? In daily fantasy is that stacking mentality. In the Sky mentioned when we were talking before we started recording the Scott Fish Bowl and football, like same thing in the Scott Fish Bowl. I don't mind getting a nice quarterback receiver combo or a quarterback tight end combo, hoping that when we get to those playoff weeks, though, like they complete a touchdown or two and push me through. So, I could see that in the overall contest, especially if you get. But I think it's probably mostly got to be like your premium players, like your first guys you take in the first 10 rounds.
Yeah, I would say, and in football, like if I get an early wide receiver, I like getting his quarterback. Especially because, that's one of the points is you buy into the quarterback. So like pairing, and it's easy to get like Ryan Tannehill with AJ Brown. You can afford that easily. And that's one thing that you can kind of pull off. Obviously cost of acquisition matters a lot. We're going to talk a lot of AL West, but before we do that, I want to share a quick note from our friends at AutoNew. AutoNew Fantasy Baseball is the next level fantasy baseball challenge you've been looking for. Experience a year-round dynasty competition with deep rosters. Accumulate prospects to lead your team in the future or to move for a superstar at the trade deadline. Keep your baseball mind engaged in the offseason with trades and arbitration. Learn more about why everyone who plays AutoNew becomes addicted at AutoNew Baseball. That's OTTONEU baseball.com. AutoNew, better fantasy baseball. One of the things about AutoNew leagues too is that they do have daily moves. I know it's not your favorite feature is to have a daily moves league. Nonetheless, it can be helpful, especially if you own Shohei Ohtani. Roster Shohei Ohtani. If you have him on your team, and in this league, you can use him either version of him. On one day he's a pitcher, on one day he's a DH, and that is awfully handy. As opposed to say the NFBC, where you have to decide at the beginning of the week whether he's a pitcher or a hitter. If he gets scratched in his start, oh well, too bad, you can't use him. Whereas daily move leagues, a guy like that benefits a little bit. So he's like the obvious candidate for someone who gets boosted by that. You saw the note that he threw 100 the other day too.
I did, yeah. I'm not going to get carried away with that, but I guess it's an encouraging sign. And the one thing I will say to the credit of daily league or daily transaction leagues is if you're going to try one, the year where we're dealing the second season, I guess, but the first full season where we're dealing with COVID might be the year to try it, because at least your team won't get, there's going to be weeks this year, probably in the weekly transaction leagues, where you've planned out your lineup and then all of a sudden on Wednesday, a series is canceled or something like that. And you're like, oh gosh, I don't ever play a daily league. Like maybe is more of a true test this year because you'll have the flexibility to pivot around those canceled games.
Yeah, that's right.
Games. Yeah.
In the NFBC, I still find him overdrafted. Maybe not this year though. He's going around pick 209 in the in the RotoWire Online Championship League. So that to me is that's reasonable. But I've just never been like, I really got to have Ohtani this year.
I'm also generally avoiding guys in 6-man rotations this year, unless I really like the guy more than the other options at that point. I believe the Angels are going to be a 6-man rotation.
That's true. I think it is true also. But we're going to talk more Angels. We're going to talk more AL West teams, but we're going to kind of break this into 2 podcasts, or at least 2 video casts. It'll be one long podcast. But for those of you who are watching us on YouTube, God bless you, first of all. But secondly, we're going to break this up for you. So we'll be right back, talk a little AL West.
Please like our video and subscribe to RotoWire. Then go to rotowire.com/pod for a free 10-day trial.